So I'm a general partner at Google Ventures. I've been there since inception. So I joined in 2010 when we were starting to put the firm together. I lead our office in New York, and I sit on a couple of our ICs, mainly in the enterprise world and in our new climate practice as well. I came to Google when it was still a startup, a big startup, but still a startup. And Google was growing by leaps and bounds, and so I worked on a bunch of the products we all probably hopefully use today, like search and Gmail, and then was asked to help look at companies in terms of M&A, and that was my kind of VC 101, has helped explore a bunch of companies, including DoubleClick here in New York that we acquired back in 2008. And then when the venture fund was coming together, it was sort of a natural transition to help think about setting that up.
Part of what we wanted to talk about was really, the future, where you see Google playing a role in the future, and therefore what you at GV are looking at. But it was sort of the sustainability piece. And maybe you could frame out how you think about sustainability, and we could tease out some of those.
I think when you talk about climate or sustainability, it's a really wide brush, right? It's kind of like if you talk about investing in internet companies, right? It's just such a wide area. And we've invested in companies in our climate practice that include pure software businesses, energy businesses, infrastructure businesses, ag tech businesses, robotic businesses. And in some ways they all tie back to climate. So really our first job is sort of getting refined on what we wanted to do with climate, was being specific about the role that venture capital plays. And what's different really about investing in many of these climate businesses, unlike say, a SaaS company, is there's just a different spectrum of capital, right? I think for sustainability, it's a little bit different, right? There might be some research, there might be some capital that shows up before there's commercialization, there might need to do some things to get to scale. Venture plays a role, and then you might need project finance or other things to actually sort of get this out to people, especially with some of these really harder, say like energy infrastructure things. So really that was our first sort of piece, to figure out where we're going and then think about the themes that we're most excited about. This might be a shock to all of you, but we actually just led a deal in the fastest EV charger company in North America. It's like twice as fast as a supercharger. In this wave of climate investing, there's no green tax. No one has an appetite to pay more for something that's green. It's got to be better, faster, cheaper, more effective, and hopefully also better for the environment. And the good news is there is a lot of money coming in, from governments and things like that. I think it's no secret, like Google's biggest line item for many, many years has been electricity, right? I mean, powering these data centers requires a tremendous amount of electricity. But it's not just Google, right? It's almost everything we do online. And I'm sure people have heard about like Bitcoin, like there are all these things that happen that just require tremendous amounts of power. And unfortunately, not all that power is green, right? So I think there's all kinds of technologies that we can do to drive efficiency. I think it is important for companies to understand that. I think right now, when you're running something in the cloud, you don't really think about the energy impact of that. And I think part of it will be this kind of accounting piece, but then also all the technologies that we'll need to sort of get there.
So let me pivot us just a bit and go to AI.
Okay.
You sort of, just as a segue, what do you worry about or think about? And obviously we're all abreast of a lot of the issues, whether just as lawyers on the regulatory side or readers and consumers of popular press and trying to stay involved in the thought leadership.
There's lots of AI kind of negativity out there. I mean, I would say I'm definitely in the sort of optimist camp. I mean, there's so much stuff that we don't even know. My opinion on the negative side, if you want to start with that, is like we don't even really know the things that are really going to affect us. But that being said, I think there's a tremendous amount of stuff that's going to come out there in all sorts of different verticals I just think some of those venture bets are very tricky to make, just given where we are. Positive side is like there's a lot of discovery, that I think this will enable. I mean, I think when I think about the areas that I'm most excited about, it's things like drug discovery, new materials. It's this sort of like doing like basic science at scale. It gets me really excited because if we can figure out like new materials, and this goes again, maybe going back to the sustainability stuff, like if we can figure out new materials, new medicines, I mean, these are really going to have big impact on people's lives. But like there's also like I think some really big positives for humanity. And again, this goes, going with the positive and the negative. Will that impact jobs and things like that? Yeah, I think it's obvious that like certain jobs are really going to be impacted by this. But the hope is that it's going to allow, experts become, even more effective. And then for other people who are just coming up to just sort of accelerate their rise. It's like, if we're going to really bring manufacturing back to this country, I think like robotics and automation is the only real path. So I think that there's a chance for us to secure supply chains and actually have a much greener supply chain by allowing us to do more manufacturing here via robotics and other tools. My prediction is not some big explosion in, barring any outside influence, that the market will just sort of continue to move.